Hi, I am Jay from the Trail and Error podcast. I said on the last podcast we did that I'd run through some kit and post it on YouTube video. So here goes. This is my first attempt at YouTubing video. So yeah, we'll see how it all goes, eh? But thanks for viewing. Right, so we are 2 days away from the Montane Dragon's Back 2023, and I'm just going to run through the mandatory kit list as decreed by Ourea events, who are the race organisers. So this is the mandatory kit, this is the minimum running kit, and we have two terminologies that we use on this race. Hill kit, which is the running kit, the stuff that you carry out there on the hill, and camp kit. It's fairly self-explanatory, right? But let's go through the running kit today, and I'll show you what I'll be carrying over the Welsh mountains. So right, here we go. Waterproof jacket or smock. This is the one that I'll be taking. It is the Patagonia Storm Racer jacket. It is a great jacket. I've used this on multiple races on multiple continents. It's just been re-waterproofed. I've re-waterproofed all of my waterproof and spare waterproof kit. So it's going to be in tip-top condition for the race, maximum durability. So tape seams, as all the things you'd expect on these jackets, high-class outdoor mountain jacket. It has a double zip on this one on the chest, which is really great for venting heat. I find that I can boil in the bag in these things, so you end up being waterproof from the outside elements, but yeah, sopping wet inside because of the sweat. I've yet to find a Gore-Tex jacket that will cope with running. You need to get rid of the heat somewhere and the moisture, but I think they clog up with sweat and salt and all sorts of stuff, so they tend to not really work in a Gore-Tex fashion for running. So that's what I find anyway. So this jacket with the double vest zippers, this is a great way of getting rid of that heat. The one thing I would say about this jacket, although I do love it and it is my number one go-to jacket, it doesn't have a wire in the peak of the hood, so which makes it really packable but a bit annoying when the wind is blowing and the rain is in your face. So to counter that, I normally wear a cap, and this year I'll be wearing the Montane waterproof cap. Good cap, used it so far, quite low profile, so it sits under the hood nicely. So that'll be my waterproof option for the upper half of me. And Montane minimus trousers, again, tape seams, pack away really small, super light. These are 163 grams. This is 227 grams. So yeah, not too bad actually, not too bad. So the kit list also requires you to have a, sorry, I'm looking like a Wookiee at the moment. I've had a haircut for a few weeks, and maybe that'll be my victory celebration for finishing this race, to get a haircut. The spare synthetic layer that you have to take with you, minimum of 300 grams, and it has to be synthetic. So no down, nothing that weighs under 300 grams. And this goes in your bag. This is your safety layer. If you want a warm jacket for the camp, by the way, you have to have another warm jacket. This is classed as your on the hill kit, of course. So I'm using the Patagonia Micro Puff hoodie, which is a great jacket. Weighs in officially at 303, although my scales are showing 317. Both sets of scales I've been using, so something is askew somewhere, but I'm gonna go with the fact that it's over 300 grams and just be happy. I'm popping it into just an Osprey 3-litre dry bag, and this will be sealed up, all the air squeezed out of it, and that will sit at the bottom of my running pack, hopefully for the duration of the race, untouched. Fingers crossed. Long sleeve base layer. This is just a Montane waffle base layer, waffle material base layer, super nice and light, super warm. It 211 grams, and it has a hood, which is also great because it's amazing if you're not moving for whatever reason, and let's hope that doesn't happen, but it's amazing how cold you can get or waiting for help, or waiting with somebody else for help to arrive. You know, you have to look after yourself and another person potentially. Hat, beanie, essential, and weighing nothing. But and we've already got that cap. That will be going out with me if the days are wet or potentially raining, and staying in camp if not, or possibly my dry bag for the halfway point. But I'm going bucket hat again. This served me well in canyons over in California earlier this year. And that was 37 degrees. The weather at the moment for next week is looking mid-20s and dry for most of it. That may change. It's Wales in September, so anything could happen. But if the weather is hot and sunny, the bucket hat will be going on. It makes me look ridiculous, but it works, so I don't care. So that's going on my head, probably. Gloves, just a lightweight pair of Patagonia gloves. You also do have to have a second pair, which have to be waterproof. And for that, again, a lot of a lot of Montane kit going along for this race. Partly because it's just easier to go by what somebody else has suggested in terms of minimum kit. Partly because some of it is really, really good kit. So these are the Minimus waterproof gloves that I've gone for. They pack down into their own little stuff sack, which is really good. They weigh in at something ridiculous, 31 grams, I think they are. They've got this grippy stuff, which will probably last about 5 seconds. I've used these through this year. Not had to use them too much. I've used them a couple of times. It hasn't been that cold this year, although it's been wet and stuff. So they're a little bit of an unknown in really, really bad wet conditions, but they do stuff down, like I said, into their own little stuff sack. And they don't weigh much, so a really good set of waterproof gloves that have been tested in the rain, by the way, just not torrential rain for hours and hours and hours. But they're Pertex, so they should be good for that. That's the beauty of Pertex. Shoes. I am taking this is still a little bit of a one that's in doubt for me, whether I'm taking 2 or 3 pairs. Definitely taking my Scarpa Kima Golden Gate GTs, I think they are. Really, really good hard terrain shoe, which I really, really enjoy. It's carbon fiber plate, which seems to give me more protection than spring, which I'm not interested in the spring, but it's a really great shoe. I've used it from a couple of 100 miles or so on the north coast of Cornwall on the rocky sections. And it's been sounds of pound, good feedback through the shoe. Anyway, that's a shoe review that I'm not doing. I'm also taking the Saucony Exodus Ultras, the original version, which I've just bought a second pair of. And they are, again, a really comfy shoe. I think about those shoes as if they're like the Cadillac of running shoes. They're just really comfy and good response. I used them on CCC last year. I used them on canyons this year, I think, as well. Just a super shoe, nice and comfy, good fit for me. Sauconys tend to fit me well. And so following on from that, just mindful of the 4th day through the Elan Valley and day 3 potentially as well, quite boggy and wet and slippy. And although it's been forecast to be dry for this next week, it's been fairly wet recently. And I'm a mid-pack runner, so by the time I get over most ground, it's been churned up. So I'm taking the Saucony Peregrine 13 ST, which is a relatively new release shoe, but I've done maybe 40, 50 miles in the pair that I've got now. Really comfy, a nice high sock on it. The ST for me is one of the grippiest shoes for mud that I've ever run in. I've used multiple versions of it in Cornwall through the winter. Not great on really slippery granite, but you're not going to get mud and the ability for coping with wet rocks in one shoe very easily. Certainly I've never found it. So from muddy, slippery, boggy ground, it drains quickly. It's a fairly lightweight shoe for what it is. So yeah, that's my shoe choices. Running rucksack or vest, right? Okay. Sorry, Montane. This is going to be a bit of a a dig at you at times, but also well done. This is the Montane VP20 Plus Gecko pack. It's a good pack. It's a really good pack. I've had to mod it a little bit though to get it to, I think, be as durable as it needs to be for this race. So first of all, voluminous. You have this fantastic little snook of a pocket on top of the main carriage area, which carries my 2 waterproof elements in a really accessible place on top of my pack, really easy to get to, and it has this super simple closing mechanism which seems to be working very well, famous last words, and it's just a sliding groove kind of clip thing, so that's the lid of my main carriage area for the backpack, and that's my waterproofs. So great, that's a fantastic idea. With the hot weather forecast as well, I mean, we are prescribed to carry in hot weather minimum capacity of 2.5 litres. So to max that, or to meet that, I have a 1.5 litre bladder in here. And here was the first thing that I discovered about this pack that I didn't like so much. The holder for the bladder, when it's carrying 1.5 litres of water, started to pull away the stitching. So I reinforced that stitching, and that seems to be holding fine. I've been using running packs for the best part of 10 years now, and years ago I picked up this from a Solomon pack. It's a neoprene tube or sleeve that covers your pack, so it doesn't get too hot, too cold before it goes in your mouth. Normally too cold, it warms up in the back of the pack, and then if it hits the cold air, it can be a bit sharp, especially in winter runs. So I've used this neoprene cover thing. If you can find them, they're a great little bit of kit. I've also added this to the end of my tube, which is the Osprey Hydropack tube cover, or drinking tube cover. Do you know what? These things, when you put your pack down, trail on the ground, one of the things that you really don't want to do in a race is get poorly. If somebody's traipsed something into somewhere on their shoe and then there's trails in it, I mean, you're normally 9/10 mud, aren't you, on these things? But it's just jabbing that in your mouth. Over the years, I've used this on my hiking backpack. Great bit of kit. Used it in Italy this year. Just fits over the end of the hose and done. So thankfully it fits my Salomon bladder, which has gone into here. So that was just transferred over. So yeah, if you have one, great little thing to stick on the end of it. Just stops them looking like they've been dumped in a cesspit, which is what they sometimes look like. So that covers the bite valve. Anyway, storage for water. You've got these great fitting Montane bottles. One of the reasons I went to this pack rather than my Salomon was the Salomon has a bit of a design flaw where you need to use soft flasks, which have a cone on the bottom of them to fit in and out of the vest pockets easily. Otherwise, it's a real pain in the ass. And those hard coned bottles were bruising my ribs quite badly this year. I've really trimmed down through this year. Lots and lots of aerobic training, I beg your pardon. So yeah, I've kind of lost a bit of padding on the ribs, which has become apparent because that pack has just bruised me. So I had to change pack, and thankfully these Montane 500ml bottles go in and out of this thing like a dream. So fantastic, good design, Montane. But what it didn't have was the thing that the Solomon does, which are these little elastic loops to hold the neck of the bottle once it's in place. So my wife kindly added those bits on for me. So just some elastane goes through a really handy little guidance loop on there for the bladder hose, which I'm no longer using on that bit. But yeah, it just holds the neck of the bottle so the bottle doesn't sink down in as you drain them, which is just nice and easy. One less bit of faff, eh? Right, so big pockets on the front. In there will be going my phone, which you obviously have to carry, and also my little aqua pack, which carries my headphones, Apple AirPod Pro thingies, and the charging lead for my watch. Nice and snug in there. That goes in there quite happily, along with my mandatory whistle. Note on the whistle, I tried my Life Systems whistle last year that I've been carrying for years, just before I went to UTMB, and nothing came out of it. So I washed it and dried it, nothing came out of it. So I thought, I'd never tried my whistle before, never had to use it in anger, and so I bought this, which is a Fox 40 Sonic Blast whistle. Unbelievably loud, one of the best on the market apparently. So I grabbed one of those last year and duly lost it through the winter, So I bought another one. Great bit of kit, and the second one will undoubtedly turn up tomorrow. Right, so that goes in there, and then we've got a nice big pocket for the phone. By the way, these zippers, here's another thing I didn't like about this pack. The zippers have really small, I don't know what you call them, zipper handles, really small. And when you're wearing big, thick gloves and your hands are cold, that's really crap. So I added some aftermarket zipper extensions, and they're orange, because the other thing I disliked about this pack was everything is black or light grey. But, you know, there's straps everywhere, and so just a bit of a pain in the ass. So yeah, I added these orange ones onto the back closing pocket, and also onto the chest zipper. So it just makes it a little bit easier to grab a hold of. You can see where they are a bit more easily. Quite often I'll be in races that go through the night. So yeah, you kind of need something that's a bit bigger, a bit more visible. So possibly a change there in future. Montane, if you ever listen. Right, so the other thing, the thing that really failed on this pack was the front closing thing. The front closing hook and loop things kept slipping. When this pack was fully loaded for this race, and it's a 20-litre pack, when it was fully loaded, which I think with water and all my kit comes in at around 6 kilos, with food as well, these things were slipping, and they wouldn't hold. I resorted, I knew what was happening, but I couldn't seem to stop it from happening. So I resorted to using one of those clipper things used on cereal packets in the end on the top. But that's, of course, ridiculous. So luckily, I had a couple of Patagonia packs around that use these, the same kind of design, but different materials. And so it's still the hook and pull system that you have on the front of these packets, but it's different. And this one locks solid. I've used these ones for years from Patagonia. So I've just transplanted my Patagonia ones onto my Montane packet. Problem solved. 2 of those, and then this lovely Velcro lower midriff strap that they use, which seems to work quite well. Big stuff packets on the sides, carries all my mandatory kit in this quite happily. Not really in fear of anything bouncing out. The pole attachments are a bit rubbish, bit big and loose, and so what I've found is that even when they're cinched down, my poles, I'm using the Z-Form Black Diamonds, carbon fiber ones I've had for years. Great set of poles, but they just wobble around on the front. It's quite annoying. So yeah, I'm using a different system to carry those with the quiver and some other stuff. But so that was the other thing I didn't like. But the carriage area is huge. Now the carriage area is not waterproof. It's probably DWR, but not what I need. So all of my kit that's going in the back, my synthetic layer will be in here. Everything else will go into another dry bag, which will both just sit in there. And if I need anything, it's nice and dry and warm. I don't need to think about covering it with my jacket or anything like that. It's all, everything that can be exposed to the weather will be exposed, and everything I want to keep dry and snug and changed into stuff will go in there. So that's that. So that's the pack. Montane VP20 plus Gecko. Nice bit of kit, but it wasn't quite right. Oh, the other thing it has actually is this elastic system that you can add to the back through these little guide rails. Quite good. Be good for a helmet or something, but I'm using it for my poles and possibly a cap. If I'm not wearing it for a while, it'll go in there. So yeah, that's quite good as well, and cinches it together. When it's when I'm not using this to carry full race kit like this, it would be a bit big. So I think that'll be quite nice for cinching it down a little bit more as well. You do have 2 kind of toggles here. So yeah, that works well. Anyway, that's the pack. So it all goes in there. That went on a bit, didn't it? Food. Well, not even getting into that. Food, all my food. It'll be around 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day I'll be consuming. So that all has to go in here as well. And it does in various places, but also into the shorts that I'm using. The Patagonia running shorts that I'm using have big, deep pockets and a nice rope thing to cinch them around the waist so they don't drop even when you load them fully. So that's good. I'm mainly using Morton's trail mix, which is packed full of calories, good weight for calorie ratio, and these real energy bars which contain natural caffeine as well, a little bit of a boost. And all my Morton stuff is the caffeine stuff as well. I really get on with it. It's proven itself for me on multiple races now, in hot and in cold. 37 degrees out in La Palma for Transvolcania, same 37 degrees out in Canyons, and out on the Arc the other year, sort of hovering around 0 at night, and yeah, fine. So Morton's is plus from me. Hydration system, water bottles, covered that. We have, I'm carrying 2 extra bottles in the back of the pack that will be empty, but filled with my Morton's mixture for the day, so I can just add water, shake it up, mix it up, and swap them out at the checkpoints. So I'll be in and out as speedily as I can with those. So I'm carrying 2 extra bottles. Plus, these are soft flasks, and while it's a new brand to me, Montane, pretty much, especially for a pack. They're all made by Hydropack. They always tend to prove to be pretty resilient, but if one does go, if you don't have a couple of spare bottles. So yeah, anyway, so I have effectively the capacity for 1 litre, 2 litre, 2.5 litres, and my filter bottle, the Catadin B-Free 1 litre filter bottle. Great little filter this, you just swish it in water to clean it out, and it has this lovely sports top mix. The idea being, into the checkpoints, if I need extra water, and it is forecasting it to be hot, if I want something to just grab and go as well, as I'm walking out and get a little bit of hydration going, pop another litre in there, or even just from a stream. You know, these filters are great. I've used them in numerous places. Thanks to James Forbes of Trench for that shout. Nice little bit of kit. By the way, I did develop some holes in this because I stupidly allowed it to brush past a really prickly Cornish gorse bush, and it sprung a couple of leaks, which really pissed me off because they're about 50 quid, these things, and 3 leaks in fact. And so yeah, I was quite annoyed. But tenacious tape, I cut 3 coin-sized patches of tenacious tape, stuck them on there, sealed them on, and it's been brilliant. That was probably about 2 months ago, and they've held even when I'm squeezing the bottle, because you tend to squeeze this one, nothing. So that's great. But I also have tenacious tape in my overnight pack, which is great for patching jackets should you tear a hole in them or anything else. Really good stuff. About 8 quid on Amazon. So means of payment, card, a bit of cash, and my phone. Compass, you had to have a base compass. You are also allowed instead a thumb compass. Now, I've been using this year. I had some friends who taught me how to use these things. They're really cool. Never used them before. I think it will be a staple of mine going forward. But as our friend Craig often says from the Royal Marines, 1 is none, 2 is 1. So I have 2 compasses. My base plate silver, and then this one from Alp Kit, a thumb compass, which is great for kind of moving quickly over the terrain and not having to sight all the time with a base compass. So 2 compasses, they weigh nothing. They weigh nothing. Why wouldn't you have 2? Map, which we get issued on the day before the race, but I have mine from last year's race, which I've been using to kind of recce and check things. Survival bag. Not survival blanket, although being me, of course, I am taking a small survival blanket. Survival bag. You climb into the things, as the name implies. Apparently, people get that one wrong quite regularly, but this is a bivy bag. I carry this on all my winter training runs anyway. It just goes in there. Touch wood. I've never had to use this thing, but it's there in case I do. So yeah, really important bit of kit. Hopefully never need it, but you never know. As I said before, it might not be for you. You might end up helping somebody else. You know, we're running through the entirety of Wales from north to south. You know, we all think about runners and carrying their own kit, but if you bump into somebody who's ill prepared and injured themselves and they're not a runner, they may not be carrying anything. So the quality of your kit might not just be for you. Whistle I've already covered. GPS tracker, they supply us with a GPS tracker which sits on your shoulder, and mobile phone I mentioned when I was doing payment. So that is all of my running kit that I have to carry, but as I mentioned, I'm carrying a few extra bits. So it's going to be hot by the looks of things, so I will be using the Quizwin 50 SPF 50 sun protection. Great little bottles of these things, you just slide them in your pockets, and it's waterproof as well, which is always cool. Trench will be going with me, and anytime I change my socks or feel the need to, that will be reapplied to my feet. You smother your feet in this stuff on the underside, It's awesome. Stops maceration. For me, it stopped blisters and all sorts of things. I've used this in deserts, mountains, middle of winter. I had cold, wet feet for hours and hours and hours. So trench, good stuff. Right, that will be going in my pack as well, because if this stuff kind of sits somewhere in like your drop bag and stuff, and you're thinking, oh, just push on with that hotspot until I reach that point. As John Von Hoff from Fixing Your Feet said, blisters never get smaller in a race. So if you get a hotspot, deal with it. This is a 6-day thing. And from all the advice that I've been given from previous runners and crew and Shane when we spoke to him on the podcast, looking after yourself on this race is the key to success. We've all trained really hard to go out there. We've known the training plans, recce or no, but doing the miles and doing the elevation, all that stuff. But if you can't maintain your body over the 6-day period, there's numerous stories about people that drop out on day 5 because their feet are just shredded from the week. So I'll be doing everything I can to try and avoid having continuing niggles. And your feet, I mean, it's the last bit that touches the floor. If your feet aren't working properly, you know, what's the point in everything else working properly? So look after your feet. So there's foot prep going on today and tomorrow, sorting out toenails, any kind of hard skin, dealing with that. That's been ongoing for weeks actually, but that'll get a last check tomorrow, and then trench. So I'll be carrying that as well. And a small tube of Body Glide. There's a bigger tube in my other bag, but Body Glide, in case I start to chafe. The underwear that I've been using for the last few years seems to address those problems, but you never know. So a bit of anti-chafe cream as well. Depending on the weather, I may be carrying this lightweight windproof top as well. We'll see the weather at the bottom of the mountains. It's always colder once you hit altitude, although these peaks are only sort of 3,500 feet. If there's a sharp wind and you start to move more slowly because you're climbing, you can start to get a bit chilly. So that will probably go in my bag for the first 2 days at least, and possibly day 5 over the Brecon Beacons. Buff just to go on my wrist, but I also just sometimes use a sweatband. I'll be having my standard bandana around my neck, which is great for catching sweat and evaporating it and cooling your neck. So that's always good. And you can dunk it into water and cool you. My running poles, I mentioned, and some hand sanitizer. Also, head torch. I didn't mention head torch. You do have to carry a head torch. This is the Petzl Neo RL, which I used out in canyons. Really great torch, ridiculously powerful on its maximum setting, which I clearly won't be using. And it comes with these lovely little Petzl torches. Sometimes come with these little refracting bags, which means you can use it as a little camp light or a tent light when you're in there as well. So that'll be quite useful for once I'm in the tent. I won't be blinding everyone should I look their way with my head torch on, because I have a little tent light as well. Spare battery in there as well. Spare battery, you can use those in a pinch. Shouldn't have to, but in a pinch they will charge your phone. The Petzl ones as well. They have a USB-C connector on them to output out, so you can stick your USB-C charging lead and charge your phone or any other device. Last thing, Garmin 67i. I don't think I'm going to have to use this much looking at the weather forecast, but this is a tool I've been using this year. It's a great little bit of kit, 250 grams, so not light. But it has full UK mapping on it on an SD card, and 185-hour battery life. And so if I need to, if my watch or my phone or my map and my compass aren't giving me the confidence that I need to navigate through this route without making errors, and that's the key for me, I don't really want to make any timely errors. I don't know how I'm going to perform on this, and whether I'm chasing cutoffs or what, I don't know. I don't think I will be, but I could possibly be chasing cutoffs. So I don't want to make any nav errors. This race is littered with people who make nav errors and then miss the cutoffs. So this is my backup. So it's loaded with all the GPX files for the race. Also has this cool feature, which means that you can summon SOS if you need to via satellite, and I can send satellite messages to with my wife as well. So that's quite cool. I'll just let her know that I'm safe at the end of the day and stuff like that. So in case we don't have satellite signal or phone signal in the camps, which we tend not to apparently. So that's a little extra. That's my luxury item, my desert island Dragon's Back rolling map Garmin 67i. So quite happy with that. It's worked wonderfully this year. And that is my Dragon's Back hill kit. The camp kit, I'll just run through the list. Overnight dry bag must be a 59 litre Ortileb, which is just over there, packed and ready to go. It is a maximum of 15 kilos in that bag. That's for all of your kit that you're not carrying, and your running food for the week, your hill food, and your sleeping equipment. So it needs to have a complete change of clothing in there for camp. Spare shoes, check. Warm jacket, additional warm jacket to that warm jacket, check. Warm sleeping bag, 3-season sleeping bag in there, nice Thermarest one. Sleeping mat, another Thermarest product in there as well, sleeping mat. Plate, bowl, mug and cutlery, yes. Sponge and cloth for washing and drying the dishes, yep. Sun cream, sunblock will be going with me. Midge hat, insect repellent, yes. Personal first aid kit. Oh, that's the other thing. I am carrying on the hill my own little personal first aid kit, which deals with blisters, tears, cuts, abrasions, whatever. If you don't want to don't want to rely on other people, then that's my own little first aid kit. Doesn't really weigh that much, but just handy to have. Personal blister treatment kit, yes. They do sell them on the event as well, but I've put together my own based on their guidance for this event, but from my own knowledge as well. And a roll of kinesiology tape, rock tape. So I've got one of those in there as well, and sufficient personal food for the week. So my daily food is around 1.1 kilos per day for running. That's what my 4,000 calories weighs in at. So there is 5.5 kilos of running food in there. So the bag will obviously weigh less as I start to deplete that through the week. And that's it. Yeah, that's a lot. So I think I've covered everything there. Thank you for watching. Thanks for all the messages of support and everything else that you've been sending in. Good luck to everybody else who's taking it on. Good luck to the race organisers and all the volunteers. Thank you, first off, for doing what you do. If you want to volunteer on the Ourea Dragon's Back or any of the other events, go onto their website. There's the option there to offer yourself up as a volunteer, and you get a free race credit in return for your hard-earned efforts, and you probably gain an awful lot of race experience. Stephen Cousins from Film My Run has also just posted his experience of working as a volunteer on the Cape Wrath Ultra, another one of the Ourea events that they run in Scotland, which I'll be doing next year, I think. So yeah, that is, I think that's everything. So myself and Tris are traveling up on Sunday. We'll shoot some video on the way up as well and post some stuff on our Instagram feed, possibly Facebook if it works that way as well. We're terrible at this extra stuff. Well, I am anyway. But yeah, we'll try and put some more stuff out over this week. When we have signal and the ability, we'll post some stuff up to the Instagram channel. Tris will probably be going a little bit too quick to do any footage during the day. I will not be going too fast to do some footage. Hopefully I can breathe and talk, and we'll put some stuff out through the week. We'll post a link on something on social about how to track us if you are into dot watching. 6 days of dot watching. You really get your value for money on this event, right? So yeah, good luck to everybody else who's taking it on. You've done the training. Now's the time to go out and have fun and explore and find new things. It's why we do this stuff. It's to prove to ourselves what's possible and test ourselves and challenge ourselves. Yeah, it's we talked about this ad infinitum on the podcast and stuff, but yeah, it's going to be a great week. I am thoroughly looking forward to taking this one on. It's going to be harder than I can imagine. I think I've got enough in the tank. We'll chat about that a little bit on our race special, but yeah, we'll see. So yeah, thanks for watching, and stick any comments in that below thing, and I'll try to answer them and respond and all that stuff. But yeah, cheers guys, bye bye.